recording. If you're not recording, it's good if you record, because I'll try to go a little bit faster so that I can.
Thanks for the reminder. I actually forgot to hit record.
Cool.
Sorry, guys. Now I hit record.
Perfect. So I go a little bit faster, so because I really want to show you a lot of nice stuff. Of course, it's really important. You don't try to do everything. I'm just trying to show you different options so that maybe you can choose a couple that fits to your ideas or your projects, and you can use them. But of course, it doesn't make sense to make to build a space where you have 3D objects downloaded, 3D spaces built in Mozilla, videos running, alpha, PNG alpha that builds space, and audios all around. Like that, it's a little bit of an overwhelming thing. So I'm just showing you as many possibilities as possible so that maybe you can find a couple that would fit for your ideas or projects. So yeah, the next thing I wanted to show you, it's like a nice particular asset that Spoke has, which is water. And it's here, you can find in elements. It's this one, simple water. You can take it and drag it somewhere. And it looks like this. It kind of looks like a low quality game water. It's not so bad, but it's not so good. And the nice thing is that it actually has a lot of parameters to play with. Also, it's water, but of course we can rotate it however we want. So it doesn't really need to really be water. So if I move it up and throw it on the ceiling, like as a ceiling up, so it can also be like this. It's a virtual water, so it doesn't fall down. Everything is fine. And it has a lot of parameters, as I said before. Here on the lower right, we have the color. You can make it whatever you want, orange or yellow. You can make it a bit transparent. Let's say like this, so that you can see stuff through it. Let me put something there so you can see through it. Voila, which is also kind of a nice thing. Then you can, okay, opacity, and then you have all these parameters about how this water simulation works. You see, this is the alpha problem that I talked about before. We have tide, waves, and ripples. So the tide is generally like how the whole, let's say, plane of water moves, because the tide is like the very big wave, okay? So the oscillation of the whole 3D object. For example, if I make it very big, let's see how it's happening. Tide speed. You see, and you see it's now, okay, so now it's quite fast. Maybe it could be even more. But you see, it's the whole object is kind of oscillating up and down. I don't know if it's a little bit, it's not much movement. Let's try to go, it's because of the tide height, actually. So let's go to like this. Okay, so you see, this is the tide. It's like the general bouncing of the whole thing, okay? And it's now very fast, so we'll go back to something less stressy. And then we have the waves. The waves are the three-dimensional kind of distortions that you see on the surface. If I go here, it will be a little bit more visible. So let's try to play with those. The height, I can make them very high or even more high, wave like 2, So they go like this. And you have the scale of the waves. So you can play around with all these parameters to generate whatever distorted moving 3D object that you want. So it is supposed to be, it can be used for water, but it has a lot of values that you can play with, and it can also look very different from water. The last thing is about ripples. So let me put these back. Oops, let me put this back to something more. Voila. And ripples are actually, it's more about the texture, so kind of how the color and the reflection of the water behave. So this is the ripples. But this tide is still, it's because of the wave. Tide height, tide speed. So let me play around with those now. Yeah, so you see now that the reflection of the water, so it's not about the 3D, like distortion in 3 dimensions, but it's more about the color and how this reflection, which is just the surface, how they behave. So now they are very fast. You see it's kind of shimmering a lot and reflecting a lot. And there is a certain scale, and you can scale them. The more you scale them, the more these reflections are big. And if you scale it small, they become like a little, you see? And the speed is the speed. So if I put it at 0, it should somehow, you see, they stop. It's not running anymore. It's not evolving anymore. So yeah, water is a nice and funny thing to play with. And as I said already, it can also be used to generate different things that the usual water. Okay, so I will now reload my spoke because it's kind of, oh no, stay on page, how is it? Okay, it's alive again, okay. It was a little bit stuck before. Okay, water is done. Also, one thing that we will check a bit more later, but especially because I'm now talking about water, and I will also rotate it because, yeah, you see that it responds very nicely to light. So I didn't speak about lights yet. Lights is something that it can make your scene look extremely different, of course, and you can use to like aesthetically improve your scene a lot, especially if you have a lot of 3-dimensional objects in it. You have kind of the standard way of making lightings in 3D environment. You have ambient lights, directional lights, hemisphere lights. You can see the description. If you hover on with the mouse over the lights and just wait a bit, you get a little bit of a description. Spotlights. So I will not go through all these lights because they're kind of clear when you check the description and when you try to use them. So it's nothing mysterious. I'll just show you the spotlight. For example, the spotlight is, yeah, spotlight. So it has a direction and it's you see. So what is happening when I point it at the water? And I make it color intensity. If you make it very intense, like super intense, you see. So now the spotlight, now it's lighting up my weird yellow water. Maybe I can make it green. And of course, the spotlights or any lights. Where is it? Where's my light? Here. You can change the color. Come on. Okay, my spoke is getting a bit stuck. Anyway, you can change the color, the intensity. Again, dependently also from the light, you have slightly different properties. Of course, now this is a spotlight, so you can change the cone. And if it casts shadows, so if it makes shadows when you have an object which stands in the light, and then there could be another object that could receive this shadow, and yeah, other stuff like this. But those lights and those properties are kind of clear, and so I won't lose much time on them. But play with them because they really can improve the aesthetic of your scene. Yeah. Also, like by default, I think in your project there is always a directional light. And how is that? Directional light is like a light where the light rays are all parallel. So it comes from somewhere, and the only important thing, basically, because it's kind of an infinite light, the only important thing is the rotation. So how you rotate it so that the light beams kind of change direction. So I'm now rotating. What am I rotating? Yeah, the directional light. So you see how the water changes, like how the water, how the light bounce on the water surface. It's not so, yeah, you see? So you can play around also to make your objects more three-dimensional, you know, and looking less flat. So this looks kind of nice. It's a bit sad that I stopped the ripples because they make a nice effect. Yeah, okay, this is a bit crazy, but doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. So, yeah. And light, of course, interacts with any three-dimensional object you have in the scene. So you won't see much happening when you have a video or an image, because videos and images are supposed to be very visible by themselves. So they did it in a way that they are not reacting to light, so that there is no danger that your image or your video that you want to display somehow gets in the dark. But if you have three-dimensional objects, and I will talk about 3D stuff the whole morning, they will react to light. And so it's a nice thing to think about when you have 3D objects inside. So,
Stefano, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yesterday, as I was reviewing a team's work, I think one of them asked a question if they were to create their project within Hubs, and their only fear is that, like, if there are many visitors, that it might slow down Hubs or their project. So, like, would you kind of comment on this? And also, like, when they're creating the space, what would be the so-called stuff that would take up a lot of you know, loading space? Or
yeah,
is there a way to create effectively or something? Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, so dependently from how many visitors you expect, generally Hubs, and something that you can check in here in the options, preferences, was it maybe here? There should be somewhere where you can check room settings. You see, room size, this is the maximum amount of people that are allowed to be active in the room. So when it is 10 to 4, it's full. And if somebody gets in, it kind of spectates from the lobby. So you see what is happening, but you can't go around. If you expect more people to be in your space the whole time, you can generate more rooms with your room. No, okay, more room with your project. I would suggest to do that instead of pushing this up. And for example, yeah, if I just, let's say I have this room here, but whenever you publish a Hubs, you remember that thing that I told you not to do? So not to push that button, which is, let me get to it. Yeah, when you are at that moment, okay, you have to do view your scene if it's the first time you are publishing, because you have to create a room, the first room. But every time you do view your scene, a room is created with your project. So there is a little bit of a difference between the project itself that is in Spoke and a room which is using that project. So a Mozilla Hubs is always a room that uses a project space. That means that you can have different rooms with different people inside that looks the same. Okay, so every time you press that button, view my room or whatever the button was, you can create a new room, and it looks the same as, it will look the same of this thing. Now this is ending my session here because you generally can't connect cannot be in two rooms, but you see the room.
We use cookies and other
Okay, this was
technologies
another
to
room. Sorry,
collect
let
data
me do
about
this
your
again.
browser
So this is
device
my new
and
room,
location. We share this data
and I
with
can call
advertising,
it
social media, and analytics partners to help us
whatever,
understand
blah
how
blah.
the site is used.
Okay, and this is the
about
URL of my
cookies
new
on
room.
this website.
But I also have in my
We use
bookmarks
cookies and other technologies to
the other
collect
room,
data about your
which
browser
uses the same
device and
project.
location.
It's the
We
same
share this
space,
data
it
with
looks the same,
advertising, social media,
but it's a
and
different
analytics
room
partners
that
to
can have
help us.
different visitors. So if you expect to have more than 24 people, sorry, just a moment. I know it was right. Yeah. If you expect to have more people, just make more rooms and have more URL ready to give to the people, so that, like, you know, you tell them, come here. If you can't access, or if you see that the room is full, you can always use this other URL and you move them to another room that looks exactly the same, but that has not as many people as the first room that you created. Come on, what is happening here? Let me switch room settings. Choose scene.
Or they can create like different rooms have different story within, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like
Yeah, and again, yeah, again, also think about that thing. Ah, okay, finally. Sorry, you see, yeah, think about the thing that you can link rooms, so you can create paths for the people to go through and have them like in different spaces. This is also a nice way to distribute people in the space instead of having them all cluttered in one Mozilla Hubs. Okay, but you see now this is the same room that I had here. Now this ended because you cannot be in two rooms. And it's the same space, but the URL is different. Okay. So basically you can do it like this if you want the same space. Otherwise, you can build more spaces and build a narrative or a path for the people to go through. Okay.
A question about that.
Yeah.
So if you create two rooms that looks the same, if people, for example, creates a drawing in one of them, that's only for that room.
Exactly. Yeah. So all the it basically it is like a different space, but it looks the same because it takes the originally like it takes the same project, but they are different spaces. So the people that are in the different space, they don't see each other, and whatever happens in this space or this space is not seen on the other side. So that's the unfortunately the takeaway from that. The takeaway, the disadvantage.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. So last thing, yeah.
Question. If you want to disable for people to write and throw in.
Yeah. What was here? I will show you. It's in the room settings. There are a lot of things that actually you can do there, especially if because what can happen and what, for example, happened a lot when I was showing you Hubs the first time when we were together in the same Hubs.
Device and location.
Just
We
let
share
me.
this data with advertising, social media,
You're in the lobby.
and
Oops, sorry.
analytics partners to help us
I'll show
understand
you
how
in a
the site was
moment.
used.
You shut up.
And
So room settings. Here, room settings, and here room member permissions. So now they are all on. They can create 3D objects and move them around. They can create cameras, can pin object. This is something I didn't talk about yet, but basically when you create a 3D object or whatever, if you create something, because when you are in Hubs, and if you are allowed, you can also like drag and drop stuff from your desktop, and actually you will see them there. So you can do a lot of stuff. If you don't want these objects to disappear, because usually when the owner of the object, so who created this object in Hubs, disconnect and goes away from the room, then all the objects that have been created from this person, they also disappear. And if you ping an object, for example, I now create whatever, this astronaut. And this astronaut now, if I go away from the room, this will disappear. But I can pin it with the space. You see, I can throw it away. I can make it fall. I didn't explain this. This is a funny thing. It becomes affected by gravity. I can clone it. I can rotate it. Blah blah blah. And I can pin it. When you pin something as a user, that means the next time, like that, if I go away from the space, this 3D object stays there. So this is another thing that it's nice for people to do, but can be dangerous, because if everybody starts to create 3D objects and pin them, then your room will become very heavy to load. So this is another thing you can avoid people to do. And then you can switch off the permission to create drawings or to react with emojis or allow flying. This is half true, half not. Depends how good you are. Like if you know the G trick, I think you can fly always. But basically, when you don't want people to do stuff, just switch off everything, and you will also be more safe in terms of how heavy your room will be. Because when people start to create stuff, then everything gets laggy and the frame rate goes down. And it's like, but yeah, so think about this. It must not be that people cannot do everything all the time, but maybe check. Maybe you can react, but you can draw, or maybe you can create 3D stuff, but you cannot do other things. I don't know. It depends from your artistic decision. So yeah. Last thing I wanted to, no, it's not the last, it's the pre-last. It's a funny thing called particle system, particle emitter, actually it's called. So I'll take it, I drag it, let's say here. As you see, again, I tend to drag stuff on other objects so that they kind of go somewhere and not in the mystery of the infinite of space. So a particle emitter is an emitter of particles. The word itself says it has some options that you can play with, like how many particles. You see, it's basically a flat surface that emits something, and at a certain point they disappear and they get recreated. So how many particles, the age is how long they stay alive somehow, lifetime, life randomness, size, so they can change size while, kind of developing from when they born and when they die. Let's see, start particle size. Let's say I want them very big at the beginning and kind of small at the end. Okay, that's very big, yeah. Let's make a little bit less big. And voila. And particle emitter. And you see they are going small. You can change the color. It can have one opacity when it starts and another opacity before dying. It can change color while developing through, you know, all this stuff. So let's say at the end I want them to be red. So this is also kind of nice. And how they move. So these are all things that you can play around with. The main thing though is if you want to personalize them a lot is that you can actually change the image. So if I go again to PNG wave, so if you want to put an image into particles, remember these are particles. They are supposed to be very small and a lot of them. So don't take a big image. It's useless because it will not be as visible, even if it is a high quality image. And I don't know, Spark? Oh no, what was a funny thing? Sorry, cigarette. I don't know how to write cigarette. Cigarette. Yeah. So this is kind of small. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna download this. And okay, I'll take it from my downloads and I just drag it. I know, always put your assets in one place so you don't lose them in your computer. So I can take my cigarette and you can drop it in the URL space, you see? Or can I? Maybe not. Wait, I'm gonna try again. Because I could before. Somehow, okay, I will just throw it here and then put it inside manually. So I'm uploading my cigarette PNG. That is here. And then from your assets, you can drop it in the URL here. And you see now I have very nice particle systems of flying cigarettes. And of course, it can be whatever you want. It doesn't need to be cigarettes, or it doesn't need to be stars. It doesn't need to be whatever. Just one thing. It's nice, of course, if you have a PNG, so that there is a little bit of transparency, so that you don't see like the square of the image, unless this is the aesthetic that you want to go for. And also keep in mind that, again, especially for particles, the image does not need to be big, okay? Because it's a lot of them. So if you put inside like a 4K image and then you have 100 4K images, it's kind of hardcore for the computer to process. So yeah, particle system. This is also a nice thing to play with. You can use them to emit something. You can use them to also have to simulate rain. Like if I make this very large, if I scale the particle emitter very big, let's see, they kind of fall all over the place. So yeah, again, play around with the size of the emitter, the position, the rotation, the image, and this can be also a nice thing to do, to use.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it possible to make them like the cone you did before? So it's like coming from one point and then like they spread? Or is it
I'm not sure actually, because it is always like this squarey, or not squarey, this flat shape. I'm wondering if you make it very small. Come on. So now I made it very small, but they also fall always straight. Size, start, and opacity, velocity curve. It's the angular velocity. What is this? This is how they rotate. This is nice too. I'm afraid they will not go. They can just go straight. Okay. I didn't play much with them, but I suspect that they just kind of go straight off the point that you throw them out from. So it kind of goes always parallel.
Yeah, that's
sorry.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, so as you see, you can do also other stuff like this. I don't know why you would use, but it looks funny. So next thing is the skybox. The skybox is something that you have in your scene. As soon as you make a scene, you have it. It's always here. It's the first element. This is a nice thing. It simulates a sky. And you have all the options that all the options that you have in the sky. Yeah. No, you can check, you have the time of the day, and then the position of the sun changes. But of course, it depends also, the sun behaves differently if you are on a different latitude. So if I go up, you see that the sun, come on, where are you? The sun, sorry, I'm getting a bit lost in space here. So yeah, if you change the latitude, the sun behaves differently. Let's see, if you are very much in the north and it's winter, the sun comes up just a little bit and then goes down again. So this is what is happening right now. But if you go south, the sun will be very high in the sky. So these are a nice thing to play with. Unfortunately, it's not animated, so it will not, the sun will not move, but you decide like a point in time, and that will be it. Then you have these other parameters about, generally how the light spreads, because the skybox is also influencing 3D objects and lights them in certain ways. So if I go very dark, it's dark. And you have other options of how it behaves around the audience and around your space. So these are all little tweaks that you can use to slightly change how the sky appears. Yeah. If you don't want the skybox, you will see later what we can use is like a do-it-yourself skybox. Basically, if you have an image, and actually I will just recycle this image. Every time you have an image or a video, and I will go to this. One option that I did not speak about yesterday was this, the projection, which is now flat. You can make it 360, and then it becomes a sphere. So the first time I saw this, I was very enthusiastic, and I started to make a space with like 40 of those, and to then recognize that actually they are very heavy. So you don't overdo 1, 2, 3 spheres maximum, generally 1. But what they're usually used for, and this is the reason why it has this weird way of displaying where you see the inner and you don't see the outer. It's because you're supposed to be surrounded by it. So when you scale it big, let's say whatever, 40, you can make your whole space surrounded by it. So of course, now this is not a 360 image, so we get this weird cut, but we can get 360 images. A nice space in web space, it's called Texturify. Oh, come on. This website has a lot of free textures or images that you can apply to your 3D objects. And there is this environment panoramas. And you see, you can recognize a 360 image when it has this weird distortions on the top and on the bottom, okay? And when something looks like this, usually it's something that can close in itself in a sphere, and it can be a 360. Let me choose something not too complicated because it tends to be overwhelming otherwise. Let's say this one. So I have it. Free download. Most of the stuff are free to download. It's kind of big, but it's fine. So I download it. Okay, I don't really download it. It just displays like this, but I can I guess I can just, can I drag and drop? Yeah, just drag and drop it. And where is my image? Here's the image, and I can substitute it. All right, I can upload it. How heavy is this thing? It's a 4,000 pixel image. Okay, it's not even 1 meg. I shouldn't be so crazy. And come on, come on, come on. Fine. And we can take it and apply it to my image. So I take my asset, I drop it in the URL. And let's see if I go in the middle. You see now I don't have any visible border. It's a continuous image, top, bottom, and it fully surrounds my space. Okay. You can find even videos done in this way. There aren't very. It's not the simplest thing to find, especially for free in the internet. But there are some. For example, it took a little bit of time, but I could find one on Vimeo. So I prepared this URL that I will just paste in here. Sorry, my spoke today is a bit slow. I guess it's a bit fighting against Zoom. So yeah, I will delete this image for now because I actually want to upload a video. So I will take a video element. Or can I just paste? Yeah, I should be able just to paste the URL in the space. Did it work? Not really. Then I will just drag a video element up. And as usual, the video element shows a default video from Mozilla, but I can go in the URL here on the bottom right and paste my URL. Let's see if this is working today. It is not. Cool. Then let me try again. Okay, right, doesn't matter. Basically, if you go around the web and you search for 3-dimensional or 360 panorama videos, you can find some stuff. But it's kind of a rare object. These are rare objects to find on the web. And again, as usual, most of the times links don't really work in Vimeo or YouTube. So either you really download it and upload it yourself, or upload it to your Dropbox and then give the link to Mozilla. But just to show you the thing that was working 2 days ago and today doesn't work was this video. The video is not there anymore at all. You see, somebody took it off. Anyways, let's try 360 panorama. So these usually don't work. You see, because you have this kind of inner thing. You should see something looking more like this. You see, the bottom and the top should be very stretched. And this should then fit on your Mozilla Hubs sphere, like this. And these are videos that either are usually rendered in 3D or shot with one of these 360 cameras. I don't know if you ever saw one. But as you see, there aren't many. Like this is probably also working. You see, it has to stretch on the top and on the bottom. So yeah, you can use video or images, and instead of having the sky, that's the default thing in Mozilla, you can have whatever, your image, your 360 image or your 360 videos. Good. Then now I will actually start a new project that will be more 3D oriented. So I'll go back to my project. Yes, I want. And I start a new one, an empty one. And as usual, I will kill the 3D model of the mountains. And I will put something else. I will put this. I will put this object, which is called ground plane. So ground plane is a 3D surface that goes very wide in all directions, and it's supposed to be used as a ground plane. You can change the color. And yeah, I will show you. I will start now talking about, because in these hubs, I want to show you how to make people walk in certain paths. In the previous one, we were always flying around. It was very free. And in this one, I want to show you how to make it more, let's say, physically realistic. So I will make it that you don't fly, but you walk on certain surfaces. So when you have a ground plane, generally you can walk all over the ground plane. And I want to show you very quickly these elements here in the architecture kit. You have floors, windows, walls, roofs, pillars. You can build all stuff. I will keep it very simple though for now. I will just throw a floor. And of course, the floor went wherever he wanted to go. So I will reposition it. And voila, this is my piece of floor. Fine, I want to duplicate it and move it and make kind of a path. I actually would like to make a corridor. So I will quickly do a couple of this and also a couple of walls. Wall. So I pick up a wall from here. Maybe something with a window. And it goes wherever it wants to go. So I'll place it back. Okay, this could fit. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. And again, I just duplicate it and move it. And duplicate it and move it. And then duplicate it and move it. Then now my scene already starts to be quite full, so I start to make groups. So I make a group of my whole wall, so that also I can take the whole group, duplicate it, move it, rotate it like 180 degrees, and then place it on the other side of my floor. Hop. And done. So, and here we have a little corridor. Now the spawning point of it's exactly in the middle of the wall, so we'll move it a bit so I can spawn here. And voila, I'll just show you this very quickly. So what is the nice thing when you actually have floor and or surfaces that you can walk on is that the whole physics system starts to work. When you fly, you kind of go through everything and you cannot like bounce against objects anymore. Now let me name it in a more clever way. 3D examples. Save and publish. This is the first time I am publishing this hub, so I will press the button to create a new room. If Spoke wakes up, right? Come on, yeah. The usual thing. Here also what Pebbles was saying before. This is also the space where you check how heavy your space is in this window here. So it gives you a count, and if everything is low and everything is green, you are cool. If right yellow starts to get worried, if stuff are red, then really try to look at what is being so heavy. Okay. Uploading the scene. Yeah, my internet is not at its best today, so it takes a little bit.
Can I ask
So,
you?
yeah, sure.
I don't know if you went through it yesterday, but how can you set any limits, or is it always like an infinity space about like this?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I want to show you. Let's say in the example before, we didn't have any floor, so it's the people just go. I don't know if there is like a whatever limit, but I've been in spaces that you could fly, and once I just tried to go and it was never ending, so I'm not sure. But if you constrain people to a floor and a walkable place, then you have certain objects can be colliders, so you can block them. You can block people to go around. Or another thing is to make really a path for them, so that there is a very precise place that they that they are allowed to walk on, and then they cannot go off this place. And this is what I will show you in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. So I made a new scene, I made a new room because it's the first time I'm publishing, so I need to create a new room. And you see now that I can, by default, when I enter the room, I walk because I do have a surface to walk on. So I don't fly. Of course, if you press G, this is the secret thing, then I can fly and it's fine. But if you don't tell to anybody this G keystroke G trick, then you are constrained to walk. When you walk, also you bounce, like you cannot go through certain objects. But now I am actually able to now not anymore. Cool. But basically, because the floor, let me go out from this a moment, because the this path here is walkable, and there is something on here, like there is a zone here which is now not visible for us, and it's kind of defining where people can walk on. And this is the reason why I cannot go over it. Like if I try, my avatar just stops. And this is this thing called floor plan. Let me reload this. Oh, come on, do something. Yeah. So this is this. This is this mysterious thing that it actually looks like nothing, but it's very important. So if you check this object, what is this object? These properties here. There are a lot of mysterious things, and there is also this regenerate option. So if I press that, let's see what's happening, and if something happens. Basically, this is a floor plan. It checks all your walkable objects in the scene and tries to imagine where avatars can walk. And you see now it shows in red the objects that you collide with, so that you will bump into. And this blue thing is the walkable place. So now I just have this. And I was actually wondering why I can just walk on the path and not on the ground floor. And this is because by mistake, I've put my architecture, my floor, like slightly below the ground floor, you see? So this is the reason. But if you just have the ground floor and not all these objects that I've put, actually you can just walk around infinitely, okay? But exactly what I wanted to show you is that if you don't have the ground plane like this, then you're like super safe, and in this way you really force people to walk on certain places, so you can generate paths that people have to walk on, and they are not free to wander wherever they want. You don't even, basically, you wouldn't even need to put the walls, because it doesn't matter if you block them. Anyway, they cannot walk on that surface. Actually, because now I even deleted it, so this is empty. There is nothing here. So yeah, this is a nice way if you want to really decide and make a precise path for people to follow or to go through, so that you can generate a narrative and a consecution of events, let's say. Yeah, another thing I wanted to show you. So first, I'm just gonna push up those architectural elements because they are slightly below the 0, and this is bothering me tremendously. But Spoke, come on, Spoke, give me something. Yeah, I will have to reload this because yeah, my internet is very stuck today. Okay, now it's fine. So I will just push some stuff up. Yeah, also the floor. You see, it would be good if I made a group of the floor. So you see how it's actually good to be a little bit more organized. Anyways, doesn't matter. Here we have it, and now it's above the 0. So you see it's above my lines. And I'll just keep on building some simple things. And what I want to show you now is stairs, because they can be particular. And again, hop. Yeah. So this is a piece of stair. Voila, voila. This is kind of small, but okay, fine. I was hoping it would be at least as large as our floor, but it's fine. So I'll move it like here. Oh, wait a moment, is it? No, it's fine. And I will make a series of those and just see if I can make a big staircase. Up. Somehow there is a weird offset, but it's fine. And I'll just keep on duplicating them and put them in sequence, like something like this. So let's see how this behaves, especially with the floor plan. This floor plan thing can be something that makes you fight a lot, because yeah, it's an automatic thing that tries to imagine where you want people to walk. It seems still fine. You see, I can walk. This is the blue zone. This is the place I can walk, and I can also walk up the stairs. Sometimes it happens that this floor plan doesn't really understand what you want to do, and then you have to start playing around with all these options. And some have to do with, like, if you have steps, if you have heights, or how if your floor is not even. It's a bit of a complicated thing, but basically what I do, if something doesn't work, it can be that this is on, this auto cell size, it can be this, sometimes it's on, but what I usually do, if it's on and it doesn't work, I switch it off, and then I just lower the first parameter a little bit, and then usually it's enough to make everything work. Generally try to be you know, like parallel to the floor, and try to make a seamless connection between floor and stairs if you have stairs. Yes, I will do Blender in a little bit. So try to make things connect very nicely so that this automatic floor path generation can understand where you want people to go. Okay, so this is another element that you can use, stairs. Yeah, and of course, you don't need to make always a linear path. One of the nice things is that you can kind of give the people choice about where to go. So if I delete this wall and instead keep on building another, let's say, path for the people to walk onto. Oops, duplicate and so it could be that you kind of give the people possibility to, okay, where do you go now? You go there or there? And depending from where you go, you have different things happening. Yeah, so you can make choice and then you can have the path coming back together. What I want to show you, which is very interesting also, especially for moving people around your space and bringing them in different places and having like experiencing different things dependently from what path they choose. There is another nice thing, which is it's called waypoint. Let me just do this platform and I will show you. So voila. So in your elements, you find this thing called waypoint. So you have the spawn point and you have the waypoint. They are kind of similar. The spawn point is where people spawn when they enter the hubs. Remember, if you have more than one spawn point, people are randomly distributed in one of these points. So it actually it's also nice to have a space with different places that maybe are connected, maybe not. And then what you can do is have different spawn points in different places, and people will randomly be in different places. So they will start and they will experience the space randomly in different from different perspectives. So this could be also like a nice way to play. I don't know. I thought about, because we have this theme of power. You can have a space that dependently from where you spawn, you have different situations. Like maybe you spawn in a place which is that you can see everybody from top and it's a very big and beautiful environment. And then if you spawn somewhere else, you are in a very closed space and you have very difficult, like you have difficulties to move around because you have a lot of objects in front. So you can create this different situation dependently from where people spawn and how you build the space. So this is the spawn point. Then there is this waypoint. The waypoint, I will now just throw it in the nothingness because I will put a 3D element in there. Waypoints are similar to spawn points, but these are places that people can go to when they are already in the space. Just let me put this in the center and not just put it here. What does it mean? It means that dependently from how you select those options here, it can happen that when you are in hubs and you press the space menu and you have a waypoint in front of you, you can click on that waypoint and teleport to that waypoint. These waypoints have different options. They can also be used as spawn points if you want or not. Can be occupied or not, like if there is somebody already there that you cannot teleport there. Clickable, so this is the thing that I said, like when you press space for having special menus with the emoji and stuff, and you have a spawn point, you can click and teleport on it. Disable motion, this is when you want, so people can teleport in this place, but then they cannot move away from this place. It's like if you want to make, like, to simulate a cinema and you don't want people to move from their seat, you will disable motion so that when somebody's going into that place, then they are stuck. Disable teleporting, so when you don't want people to teleport there. Snap to floor plan, blah, blah, blah. Maintain initial orientation. So yeah, this depends, like if people are facing a certain direction and they teleport, they will again face in that direction. There's a little utilities that you can use to, depending from how you want to people to, like the users to relate to this waypoint. The nicest thing, in my opinion, is that I usually like kill all this stuff, and I just use them as like special places where people can go. And because I don't really like these clickable things, so that people have to press space and then see the spawn point and click on the spawn point, I saw the Mozilla people introduced something kind of special. So what you can do is you can create a link to this spawn point that is nice, something visible. So again, it will look very similar to where you want to link other hubs or when you want to link a web page. But when you click on it, you will just move into the, you will be teleported into the spawn point. Sorry, the waypoint. And the way you connect this is you take your waypoint, you give it a name like teleport, whatever. And then you go to your link that you placed. And in the URL, you write hash teleport. So hash, and then the name of the waypoint that you want people to be teleported to. So let's just try that. I mean, now I don't have any floor below my waypoints, so I'll probably end up flying, or I don't know. I actually don't know what will happen. Let's see. And it takes a little bit because today my internet is a bit slow. So basically, I like this thing, especially because it's another element that helps you move people around. And especially you can have a place where you have a lot of these links to different waypoints, and you can let people choose where to be moved to. Uploading scene 60, okay, a little bit more. Okay, after this, I'm just anticipating a bit because anyway we have to wait. I will show you how to import 3D elements, and we will use Blender to fix certain 3D elements that would be otherwise too heavy for hubs and spoke. So, I didn't save my scene in the bookmark before, so I have to create a new one. Yeah. And I'll give it a name also. 3D examples. So I'm creating a new room, and this time I will save it as a bookmark. Bookmark toolbar, voila. Okay. So I'm again on my thingy. I can walk around. I can choose to go up the stairs. I can choose to go left. There is nothing here now, but whatever. And when I get to the link, you see I have this, and there is go to. I have no idea what will happen now because I don't have a floor. And voila, I'm in the nothingness. And now I can fly. That's also a funny thing. So yeah, as you see, let me do it again. You basically, let me try to land on the floor. Yeah. Basically, you can have these or have multiple of that, and then you can, of course, add, I don't know, a PNG text with some description. You want to go here, you want to go there for this or that other reason. And then people just choose where to go. And this can be used in a lot of nice creative ways, in my opinion, at least. So voila, this was a little example how to build 3D stuff quickly with the architecture kit. and how you can move people around. Give a look at the architecture kit. There are a lot of nice elements actually. You can build nice stuff. It takes a little bit of time, but that's kind of nice. But what if I want to use 3D stuff, 3D models from the outside world, like not from Mozilla? We have on the lower left these menus here. Sketchfab and Google Poly are two websites. I talked already about it a little bit yesterday. Two websites about where you can download 3D models for free. Of course, 3D models can be super heavy, can be super light. You don't know. So it's good to actually, again, take care about how heavy these models are before using them. Wait. Let me reload Spoke. No, actually, you know what? I never saved this. This was dangerous. Remember to save your projects. Yeah, so Google Poly and Sketchfab. Google Poly, especially in the first pages, tend to have light, very light and easy to use models. Sketchfab is very rich of any kind of 3D model. What I usually do, okay, I just show you quickly. Let's say if I, was it an alien? There was a nice, yeah, let's say I pick up something and I throw it here. And this is a 3D model. And you can move it, rotate it, you can do whatever you want. Also, some models have animations in them. So if you have a 3D model selected and you go into its properties, you see the link, and then can you collide with it or not? Does it cast shadows? All this stuff. And if you, for example, this is an example of a 3D model that has an animation. So when you go to loop animation, you see I had an option here. I could select one animation. Could be that these objects have more than one animation, and then you choose which animation you want to loop. And let's see how it looks. Voila, it does this. It looks around. So these are also, I know this is now like an alien, it has a very gamey aesthetics, but you can find 3D models of anything. Yeah, and I will show you in a little bit. But what is the problematic thing with 3D models, especially if you're not much used to work in 3D? I recommend to take care about, again, how heavy they are. So if you go down on the properties of the model, there is this GLTF information. So, and here you see some statistics about the model. We see it has two textures, so two images that are applied. One to the first one, this weird looking one, is kind of a map that tells the surface of the object how to respond to light. This second one is actually the color that you see on the object. So you already see there are two images. One is 5 megabyte, one is 1 megabyte. This is already kind of heavy. They are 2000 pixel by 2000 pixel, 2048. And here you see the whole model is actually 6 megabyte. So it's not the most light model ever. So I can still use it. If it would be more heavy, or if it would have gigantic super HD texture, you would actually get a warning sign here. Actually, I can show it later. But it's still usable. But one of the recommendation in Spoke is to limit the weight, like how heavy your project is, to limit it to 16 mega. And if your one model that you have is already 6, it's okay, you're taking away a lot just for that alien looking thing. And yeah, this is the reason why I will show you some little things in Blender. Blender, if you don't know what Blender is, okay, it's a 3D program. You can do 3D animations or do a lot of different things of 3D related, but it's a very open program. You can even use it for visual effects and video cutting, even if you want. It's free, it's open source, and it has a gigantic community behind that programs for it. And you can find a lot of tutorials about it and a lot of lectures and stuff. So this is the reason why I'm using Blender. It's very good and it's very free. Yeah. But I will not be able to teach you Blender also because I'm not a super expert myself. I usually use it to either fix stuff for hubs or makes little videos for some projects. But I'm not an expert in 3D. I will just show you how to import something from Sketchfab and how to make it light. Kind of go through all the, go through the 3D object and kind of shrink it down at a level that will be easy to handle for hubs and for whatever mobile devices. If somebody wants to come to your hub with an iPhone or whatever. Yeah, just to shrink down and make things light a little bit. And again, wait. And yes, so if you have Blender downloaded, open it. I'll just save this project. And I will open my Blender and then I will have to switch the screen sharing because now it is connected to my Firefox. So let me go here, new share. Is it new share? No, first I'll stop my screen sharing and then I start a new one. Blender, here it is. Okay, so when you open Blender the first time, I think you might have some options about if you want to right click or left click to select objects. Of course, if you already know Blender and don't listen to me in this moment, I'll just tell you right now certain preferences about how to interface and keystrokes so that we are synchronized in how to use Blender. So if you have a question about right click and left click, I have left click to select objects. And then there should be something about space, but I don't really remember right now, but it's something we can change later. But the first thing we'll do is actually go through the preferences and change these keystroke preferences. So this is Blender. As you see, it has kind of a similar layout as Spoke of Mozilla. So you have on the top right, you have the hierarchy. So all the elements that are in your scene. On the bottom, you have properties of the element that you have selected. You see we actually have much more stuff here. On the center, we have the viewport where we can see the 3D environment. And then we have a lot of menus and a lot of stuff that I will not talk about right now. One important thing, how to navigate this space. So one thing that is always super difficult to me is like I never get used switching between Spoke and Blender. So every time I open Blender and I try, of course, to move around in the same way that I move around in Spoke, but no, it's actually very different. So if you scroll around, I think of course, it depends how your computer is set, how your touchpad is set. But if you have a Mac and you scroll around with 2 fingers, you can rotate around. If you pinch and zoom, you can do like this. or you can also control and scroll and you zoom. So control and scroll for zooming, scrolling around for rotating around, and shift and scrolling around to move like this. If you are on Windows and you think like, well, my touchpad is not doing anything or what you're saying, you can use this little widget here on the top right of the viewport. You can click and drag and you rotate. Then we have a little lens here. You can zoom in, zoom out. Then there is this hand icon that you can drag your view laterally up and down and left, right. So this is a way to navigate. Whenever you open Blender, you always have a default cube in there. And we can select it by clicking on it. And then, I don't know why, don't ask me why, but in Blender, you don't delete stuff with the delete key, but you delete stuff with the X key. And then it tells, okay, yes, you can either click or press return. Or if you want to delete stuff from here, you can right click, delete, or just press X and delete. Yeah, so I like to delete kind of everything in the scene, especially when I have to work with hubs, because then we will have to export. And when we export, we don't want to have anything else in our space that is not the object we want to export. So I delete everything beside this collection. Collections are just abstract containers, so you don't have to care much about them. Yeah, let's just take a, let's just download an object like a model from Sketchfab. So I have to switch to screen sharing again. Or let me just share the whole desktop. Wait a moment, sorry. Desktop one, yes. Voila. Yeah, so now you should see everything. So I go back to Firefox and whatever I take, let's take a model like I want a desk. Okay, Spoke is collapsing. I will just save it and go to Sketchfab manually. Sketchfab. So I also like to actually go to the actual website when downloading models, because you can get more information about what you're downloading. If you are in Spoke, come on, you see you have the previews of the models, but you don't have many information about these models. Let me just show you. When you go here, yeah, you have all this stuff. It's super comfortable because you can drag and drop and try it immediately, especially if you are sure that the model is light. Most of the Google Poly ones are kind of light and low poly, so they don't have many, the mesh, the 3D is not so complicated, and they are usually done to be very light. So generally I drop stuff from Google Poly, but you don't find much on Google Poly. So I generally try to rely a lot on Sketchfab, though Sketchfab has more complex, can have more complex models. And this is the reason why I actually go on the actual website. So on the website, you can search something. I wanted to search for a desk. And it's important that you turn on this downloadable, because there are certain objects that are just there in display and not to be downloaded actually. And then when you browse, you see there are some prices. So not everything is free, but a lot is free. And the quickest way to see if something is free or not is by looking the top right corner. And if you just have the download button, then you will be able to download. If you have the $ sign, then you have to pay for it. But you see, a lot of them are actually free to download. So let's say I want something nice, but not that doesn't look hyper complex. Oh, you know what? No, let's take something. No, yes, let's say whatever. This table. I don't know. Let's check. Wooden table. It looks very beautiful. The very nice thing about Sketchfab is that you really have like three-dimensional preview of your model, and you can rotate around it, and it's cool. That's basically very cool. A nice thing is also you have this more model information, and here you can see how much heavy the model is, how is the geometry, how many faces it has, like 984 triangles, 17 megabytes is relatively heavy for a model, but let's try. So I'm just downloading this. And usually when you want to download in Sketchfab, you can either download the original file that whoever done this uploaded, or an auto-converted file in the extension, which is called GLTF. GLTF or GLB is the same. It's actually the format that Spoke and Mozilla Hubs use. Most of the time, I don't really trust this auto-converted thing, because sometimes I saw a very ugly thing happening when it auto-converts, because it's an automatic process that the website does. So I don't really trust it all the time. Basically, I usually download the original unless it's a file format that Blender doesn't like. Blender likes a lot of file formats, but not certain file formats that are specific to other platforms like 3D Max, or I have no idea, whatever. But FBX is a lot of models are in FBX, and Blender is very fine with FBX. So I'll just download this for now. So I'm downloading the 3D model. It takes a little bit because it's not the super light one. And I open it, and I get, dependently from the format, the 3D format of your model, either you will have one file that has everything inside, and with everything, I mean the geometry, the images that are used as textures, that are kind of put it on the object, materials, which are, okay, doesn't matter. If you are a 3D person, you know what the material is. Otherwise, it's basically the material is the piece that thinks about and tells the model how to react to light, how to reflect light. Yeah, so in this case, it's an FBX, and FBX have different folders where the things are separated. So I have the actual file here with the geometry, and then I have a different folders with textures. And you see this is the wood texture, which is like, put on the geometry. These are the normals. It helps the model know how to react to light, occlusion, and other kind of things that they kind of interact with the way that the model reacts to a light source. So a lot of other stuff, but basically we just want to open Blender and import this file. So, oops, this is manual. In Blender, you cannot really drag and drop stuff. You have to really go through the menu and import it, which is like file, import, and then you have to choose which kind of file you want to import, like FBX. But I will now, before we do that, we go through certain preferences, so we can make some shortcuts that will be actually very useful in the future. So we go to Edit and Preferences. And this menu here, Key Map. So, and these in here, I think you get some of the stuff that you were asked when you opened the program the first time. So I have left, I have spacebar action, I have search, which I have it like this because I use search a lot, because it makes a lot of things very quick. So it's important that I have left and search. And then in interface, where is interface? The first menu, status bar. So here, this you open this status bar menu, and I have this turned on. This is very useful, especially when you work with Mozilla Hubs, because it will constantly show you how many vertices and how complicated the geometry of the model you have in Blender is. So you can kind of count how many faces your object has. And so it's useful to know, like, okay, is it still too big? Does it still have too many faces? Then I need to shrink it. So this is why I have the statistics on. And then that is actually it. So let's import the model. As I said, you need to go through the menu, but the reason why I selected that search with spacebar is because all the menu options, all the actions you can do, you can access super easily with the space and the search. So what I do now is like space and type FBX, and I get exactly the same thing that I would get by going through all the menu. Okay, file import FBX, but I can just search FBX, export, import, and I want import. So this search thing, it makes stuff extremely fast in Blender. Then where is my model? Is in downloads, wooden table, and you have to pick up the FBX file. And let's import it. And let's see what is happening. Where is my file? I don't see it. I didn't import anything. Okay, let's try again. Download, wooden table, source, desk, import. No, are not supported. Something is not supported. Okay, funny. Let's just download another table. There are plenty of tables in this website, luckily. I'll just pick up this one. Fine, download. This is another file format. It's a die, which is fine anyways for Blender, doesn't matter. And it's downloaded, and I unzip it, and textures are here. The model is zipped, so I have to unzip it again. And now I have the model and the textures here. Okay, so let's import this one. As you saw, this is another file format. It's a die and not an FBX anymore. Wait a moment, I'm a bit lost in space. Voila, so that's the center. Okay. And I'll go space and write die. And there is file import die. Downloads. And desktop poly. Was it the second one? Yeah. Let's see. Something is there. I can see the elements here in my hierarchy. Again, I don't see it. Is it too small? This is something that sometimes happens, that the measurement or the scale or the position of the model are kind of weird. And so you don't see it immediately when you import it. Oh yeah, it's just very small. Okay. So if you have something, just, select everything and check the scale. So you select all your objects, you go into this menu, transform, and be sure that everything is scaled properly. Do I have to scale everything one by one? Okay, let's do it very quickly. That's a little bit of an annoying thing. but this is some unfortunate stuff that can happen when you download stuff from the internet. It's not always happening, don't worry, but sometimes it does. Okay, so this is my table. It's upside down, but it's fine. Let's check if everything is there. So now you see my table is all gray. So I don't see the texture. I don't see the colors. Ah, oh, somebody's in the waiting room. Okay, Pablo did it. Fine. So you don't see the colors because this is how the viewport, so this viewing thing behaves in the beginning. But on the top right, you can switch how you see stuff. You can have a wireframe, so you can see the geometry. You can have this grayish preview thing. The next one is textures. It will take a little bit to load, but then it should kind of work. I saw something happening. I'm not sure if it really worked. Is this still very small? I have the feeling that this table is still extremely small. I will select everything and make it big. So I selected everything and let's just scale. Oh, S. Yeah. Also, let me go back a minute. If you need to select stuff, okay, it's very easy. You just click and drag to select everything. And then if you need to move, there are these buttons here. If you need to move, you click this. This is very similar to Mozilla, to Spoke. If you need to rotate, you click this and you rotate it. Actually, I would like to rotate it. Thank you. Okay, it won't be a super straight table anymore. If you want to scale it, you scale it like this. Ooh. How can I? Yeah, just like this. Fine. So I kind of had the feeling that the table was super small. Voila. Now we have our table, which is not straight anymore because I rotated it a bit. But we are fine. It's not so bad. We can fix it later. But still, I'm not really sure. You see, I don't see really much of the textures. So something that can happen, again, when you import models from outside is that it doesn't find the textures anymore, but no problem. We can go to File, External Data, find missing files, and hopefully everything will be fine. So we go to our, no, it wasn't this one, it was this one. Textures, find missing files. Did this work? Not really, huh? Let me try again. Maybe these ones? Ah, come on. Okay, so you say sometimes it is more complicated and sometimes you don't find certain things. So it can be kind of problematic. The nice thing is that, for example, I don't want to bother fixing this texture stuff. I mean, you could, you could go into the material of each little thing and kind of, load the texture one by one, but it's a long process. I don't want to do it. So what? I'll just delete everything and pick up another table. Sorry if this is getting a bit longer. I wasn't really calculating this model problematic. I will just pick another one. Oh, wow, this is ugly. I will just pick this bench. It's a bit heavy, but let's try. It's an FBX again. And go to download, unzip it. And again, source, it's a RAR. really. So I have to unpack also this one. And we have everything here, textures and the model. Fine. So go back to Blender. It was an FBX. So FBX, import FBX. And it is in my download. And it's old school desk USSR. Wasn't it text? No, source. File. Voila. And I load. Let's see how this looks. Am I rotated? Okay. It looks also this one doesn't find the texture, but yeah, fine. We can try again to file, external data, find missing files. And let's go for our textures. It was old school desk, source. They should be here. Please find them. Okay, also this one doesn't find textures. So I will just use desk that I downloaded yesterday that I'm sure that it works. Otherwise we go on like this forever. Where was it? Desk low poly, yeah. Source. So I loaded FBX. It's like this. Again, there are some problems with the textures, but this time this procedure should work. Desk low poly. Oops, here. Find missing. You see, it should go like this. And when you find the textures, then you have them there. Another important thing when you have your file, it's go to file when you have the textures and everything, and you kind of put everything together. I'll always turn on this automatically pack into blend. That means the Blender will take those files and copy them in the Blender project. So you're always sure that you have them in the project. If you don't do that and move the textures or delete them in your folders, then Blender will not find them. So in this way, it will copy in the Blender project. So we have this desk. It has a lot of stuff. I don't know why, you see. It has, this is the symbol for lights. We really don't need lights. So let's try first to clean up, to check this hierarchy here, the list of objects, and clean up all the stuff. The camera, I don't need the camera. I just want the objects. And I see also that all objects are separated, which is can be good or bad. The nice thing though is that I can check how many faces my object has. And on the lower right, it has 5,000 and something faces. Still someone is waiting in the room. I don't see anything about letting people in though. Because usually I get here, admit all. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, yeah, this object, you see, it's divided in different components. It's not just one. Which is, in this case, might be nice. We see we have 5,000 faces. It is kind of, it's not super heavy, but we could be better. The total amount of faces you can have in hubs is 50,000. Let's say the minimum, let's say the maximum amount that they say it will perform good. So let's try to keep below that 50,000. And I don't want to have an object that have 5,000 by itself, especially when it's a desk, you know, it's not the most complex thing on earth. So I will actually just go around and select certain things that I can get rid of, like, you know, cables. They're not very essential. All the little things that are, yeah, they are there, but we can get rid of them. So I just like select like the pens. Yeah, I can get rid. So I just select stuff. You can either select from the viewport or in the hierarchy here, select and then press X. And this is how you delete. So this is one thing to do. The other thing we can do is select certain elements like meshes and reduce their, like simplify them, which is surprisingly easy in Blender. For example, this keyboard might be a little bit of a complex thing. It might have a lot of faces. It's not the most detailed keyboard, but I think I can get better than this. So I select the keyboard. On this lower right big menu thing, you go to this branch. And this is responsible for modifiers. You can add certain components in Blender that can modify your mesh or whatever you have selected. You have to be in object mode. What does that mean? Why would you know? Because I didn't explain it. You see on the top left, you have object mode, edit mode. When you go in edit, you see the single vertices. You have other modes. You can sculpt, but we will not go through everything. Just one thing, you have to be in object mode if you want to apply modifiers, which is the menu you get through this branch thingy. So you click add modifier, and there is one modifier which is called decimate. The important value is this one, is the ratio. So now I have my keyboard selected. I see that this keyboard has 700 and whatever faces. The ratio is 1. Let's say I click and I put 0.5. I have half of the faces, and this looks horrible. So maybe I don't want to go so hardcore. You can also drag, and you see how the keyboard kind of changes shape. So we can go down just enough before it starts to look ugly, and then it's fine. Now we have 200 faces less. Once you've done that, you have to click on this arrow and apply. And now the modifier is gone, and the modifier has been applied to the geometry. So generally, just, if you have a model that you want to make it light, just go around and start to shrink stuff down. In this case, it's divided in different elements. Sometimes the object is one thing, so you can just decimate the whole thing. You don't have the possibility to select the different stuff. But let's say also the mouse. Mouse can be simpler. So I select the mouse, you go to the modifier, to the branch thinking, add, decimate, and I go down a little bit. It looks a bit ugly, but it makes Mozilla Hubs life much easier. And then always apply. I don't know, these caps can also do that, whatever. You got the feeling here. Just go around and simplify geometry of stuff. So this is about the geometry. Sometimes you download stuff that have like thousands and thousands of polygons, so it's good to simplify them. Another heavy thing is, or could be, textures. So the actual images that are applied to the object. So to work with textures, we go to this menu here, UV editing. And if you don't see anything here, it's okay. We can go to this little button and check. Here you should have all the images that are somehow related with this 3D object. I see that there is a palette color. So it's a very curious thing, because usually texture are like the images that are applied to objects. And in this case, they just used it as palette color to give different colors to the geometry. But whatever, it doesn't matter. I have this image. It is in my Blender file because we packed the external files before. And we just go to image, resize. It's not a big image at all, okay? Sometimes you get like 8,000 pixels, blah, blah, blah. I just want to show you the process. This is already kind of small, but we can even go smaller. Remember, I see most of the times it's good to use numbers that are power of 2. This is a kind of a nerd complicated thing, but like 32, 64, 128, 256. 512, as you see here, 1024, 2000, whatever, and go on and go on and go on. So if I want to reduce this, that is like 512, let's say we go either half, like which is 256, or even a quarter, which is 128. Now we just go 128 because I want to make it like super slim, okay? It's bad to look, but it will work. Another texture we had was this. This is actually for the little papers, the sheets of paper that are on the desk. And I do the same, resize 128 and 128. It will not look super beautiful, but fine. And another important thing I forgot right now, when you resize something, always save. Now we'll also go to the other image and save. Okay, so resize and save the textures of your objects. And last thing, I will go to here on the top right in the hierarchy. I will press this button here and I will check this broken heart, which is orphan data. These are all the components, all the things that are actually in your object or in your file, but they are not used. So it's useless to have them in your file and it will make your file heavier. So luckily we can check all of them and just push on this purge button, purge unused data. Yeah. And so we get rid of all the stuff that we are actually not using. And if we go back to layout, our desk kind of looks the same. You see now the paper is a bit ugly, but it's much more lighter. Okay. So remember this passage, reduce the mesh, the geometry, resize the textures and save them. Also check this, automatically pack the data, usually it's the textures, into your file. And so you get a cleaner thing. Also delete anything that is not really the object. Sometimes there are lights or whatever. And also remember to do this orphan data purging thing. In this way, your model will be super light, okay? Good, so we have it. How do we export it? Either we go to File, Export, GLB, GLTF. This, you have to select GLB, GLTF, okay? This is the only kind of file that Mozilla accepts. So you can either go through the menu or just GLB, File, Export, GLB. So I click on this and that's it. I'll just throw it in my folder and export. Voila. So I can now hide Blender. We don't need it anymore. We don't need this anymore. And I'll go back to Spoke and just drop my model where I want. So where's my model? It's on desktop, Hyper Island. I didn't even give it a name. Okay, it's untitled. Oops. Give name to your files. It's good. I'm uploading it. And let's see. Oh, no, it went there. Okay, it's not so far away. I thought it was worse. And voila, we have our object and our object is fine. I actually use this desk. It's a model that you can find on Sketchfab. And I used this because exactly I first imported it from Sketchfab directly from Spoke. And like Spoke was telling me, like was giving me the warning sign telling that this object is too heavy. So I exactly used this to make a test. And now you can see, if you go to the properties of the object, it's only 333 kilobytes, which is nothing. So yeah, this is one thing, importing objects, how to use Blender to shrink them. And as a last little thing, I want to show you, or maybe pre-last, depends from the time, I want to just show you like exactly the same thing, just very quickly, but show you that objects, you can also use 3D objects or 3D models, not only as elements that you can put in your space, but also as the space itself. So I will go to Sketchfab again and Google, what was the name? Roman Ruin or something like this? Not really sure. Only downloadable. No, it was just Roman, I think. Let me browse a little bit of models. I'm searching for a little bit of an environment. There are a lot of very cool, like 3D scanned environments in here. You could try, but they tend to be extremely heavy. Even if you just want to import them into Blender, it's like, ugh. But okay, this looks small and cute. A little wall. How heavy is this thing? Wow. Okay, it's a lot of, like the geometry is gigantic. But we can try it. Like this is supposed to be a very heavy, okay, it doesn't look super good because it's difficult to scan on top. But this is supposed to be like a very heavy model. But okay, let's try it. Let's try. So I will download it. It's an OBJ. It's another file format, but it's still fine for Blender. It's 34 megabyte, which is quite a lot for a small dimension model as this one. I have to unpack this. How is this? Okay, we have, this is a texture. This is the material and this is the object. Okay, we go back to Blender. I will kill this desk for now. We don't need it anymore. Just purge the stuff and go back to scene. Fine, let's import the OBJ. File import OBJ. Fine, it was in my downloads. And I have no idea how it was called. Roman Riverside wall, probably. Yeah. Source. Pop. And you always take the object itself, okay? See, now Blender is thinking because the 3D model is, it's 72 megabyte. Wow, okay. Maybe this is too hardcore right now, but okay, let's wait a little moment. Okay, it's there. It's fine. It's weird because it's very weird. Because all the faces are turned around. Oh, wow, this is very weird. Okay, I'll try very quickly to fix this, but it looks not the best. So when you see this weird thing here, like you see through walls and stuff, it means that faces are kind of facing the other direction. And you can try to fix it by searching invert. I don't know, do I have to be in it's a whole collection of stuff. Okay. Invert. Oh no, it's flip. Give me a moment. Ooh, wow, this geometry is like super dense. Look at this. Wow. Okay, let's try. Flip. So there is this thing when you go to edit mode and you see the geometry, you can flip the normals. That means that you can flip where the faces face. And if everything is fine, no, everything is not fine. So you know what? Again, my philosophy is instead of fixing stuff, let's just choose something else. We have plenty of choices on Sketchfab. So let's just check for a model which is a little bit better done. Maybe this. How heavy is this? It's even more heavy. No, let's not go too hardcore. Maybe this. $200. It's still a lot, but it's fine, and it's a flat thing, which is perfect for what I want to show you. Okay, download. It's an OBJ again. Nope. Unzip. Probably I'll have to unzip one more time. Yes, unzip again. And again, texture, material, and the object. So let's hope obj file import obj. Take the object. Oh, but that's the old one. Legendary camp. Yeah. Model. Voila. Let's see. 36 megabyte. It's heavy, but not as hardcore as the one we had before. Where is it? Is it big? Okay, fine. I don't see the object, so I'll take another one. Come on. Okay, this is funny enough. Hopefully this works. I mean, another thing you could do if you really want that object would be to download it in another format. So like try to auto-convert it, GLTF file, and maybe it's not behaving as bad as the original format. So let's try import obj. And it was named like floor or something. Pavement. Source. And let's see. If this doesn't work, I'll just use one that I downloaded yesterday. Okay, it's there. It's flipped, but we can flip it. So I can just go to rotate, take this X and rotate it. It is also generally good to place your object kind of in the center, like this, for example. Which side is which? It's also rotated like this. Okay, then we also rotate it, flip, like this. There are some shortcuts actually to these options here. Like with G, you move stuff around. With S, you scale. With R, you rotate, which is making your life very easy, actually, if you get used to them. So, okay, we have our model. Everything is fine. There is a little doggy on the floor. Cool. Let's go through the same process we did before. You see, now we have an example of a model which is just one. It's not divided in anything in parts. So we go to the modifier. No, sorry. First, let's check that everything is inside. Automatically pack. Okay, we pack the stuff inside. We go to the modifier and decimate. We have 272,000 faces. And let's just shrink it down. You see, now it's kind of slow because it's a lot of faces and Blender has to process a lot, but still things looks fine. Let's go very small. Still looks fine, which is kind of cool. I will apply this. Give a check. Everything is still there. Detect you start to see a bit of geometry on the dog, but that's fine. Let's do it one more time. How many faces do we have now? We have 27,000, which is still kind of a lot. Let's go half. Let's go a quarter. Okay, 6,000. You know, that's enough. It already starts to look weirdly too much geometrical. So let's apply. Let's also give a check to the textures. We have, this is the old texture. We have this texture here. I have a lot of textures from the models we imported before, I guess. So it's actually good to purge the old data. Let's see what we have. This is another texture. This is another texture. What is all this stuff doing here? Yeah, I kind of messed a little thing up because I imported so many things without making a new project. So usually you wouldn't have so many textures. You know, you would just have the texture of the model you imported. Let's try to purge again, but it doesn't really work. Okay, fine. I'll just shrink everything. Where is the dog? This is a texture. You see, I can kind of see my dog here and the pavement. So usual thing, image, resize. This is 8,000 pixels. It's really a lot. Let's go to 1024 by 1024. Maybe it's a bit too low quality, but let's just check. And save. And maybe also reload. I just want to be sure that this is updated. How is this looking? Okay, it looks ugly enough. I think this is the shrinked texture, even though I'm not super sure, because in some parts it looks kind of good. Let's give it a check again. Do we have other textures? This is the other model. This was also from the other model, and this was also from the other model. Yeah. Okay. Let's try to export this. Let's see what's happening. So I go to, I write GLB, file export, GLTF or GLB. I give it a name this time, doc. Let's see how heavy this is. I'm a bit afraid that everything is inside also with the other textures, but let's see. So let's go to the folder, dog. It's 5 megabytes, so there is a probability the other textures are still stuck inside, but we don't care about it now. It's not so tragic. And finally, I'll drop my dog in my space. It's the doggy. We will see. We will see. Nobody knows how the doggy is doing. We are all very concerned about the doggy. So as you see, like generally, if you have to import and modify an object, always do like a new Blender file. Otherwise, there is a little bit of dangers that happens as happened to me now that I had also the old textures in my file. Okay, so the doggy is there. It's rotated. I just put it in the center because everything always goes into the nirvana of nothingness. So where is my dog? I don't see it. It's this one. You see, like when spoke thinks that something is wrong with your model, it tells you something. This object contains one texture larger than. This object contains a texture that uses a lot of space, and the file is large. So this is because I left the old textures of the old models that I was trying out inside. Okay. So if you, again, always do a new Blender file when you want to convert a new, or when you want to play around with a new object. So the dog is there. It's very small, but it's actually there. So I will scale it up and use it as a floor for the place that I want to teleport into. So I kind of put it there and scale it very big. like 1 at least. Okay, 1 is a lot now. It is a big doggy now, so let's make 0, 2 maybe. Looks kind of okay. Try to keep in mind that this is somehow the height you have. So it's good that if you want to use a 3D model as a floor, unless you want it like this place in the height, if you want it on the floor, like try to put it really on the same level of this kind of simulated floor that you have that keeps you, like it shows you where the 0 is in height. And voila, I'll rotate it a bit because it wasn't very straight. And the doggy is a very big doggy right now. We could make it a bit smaller if you want to stay realistic. If you want to stay realistic, of course, you can import a gigantic model of a gigantic dog if you want, and let people inside his mouth. Okay, let's try like this. I will move it a bit because I don't want to step on the doggy immediately. And let's see, every time you add a model that you actually want to use as a floor, like that you want to walk on, you have to check that this is on, collidable and walkable. And it's also good to go to the floor plan. Where's the floor plan now? Floor plan. You see you have this little steps icon here. And regenerate it to check if I can really walk on that thing. And if it is blue, it's fine. If it is blue, it means you can walk on it. So this is all cool. So I will just publish. It'll take a little bit because this doggy thing, it's a heavy model. So I think it will take a bit to upload. And again, it is heavy just because I didn't delete the old textures of all those models that didn't work. And you see in this window, the performance check, Spoke is telling me, hey, take care because you have some gigantic textures, okay? Because I didn't reduce the old textures. Light is fine, but the file is also kind of big now because I have these very big textures. But we don't care now. And we just publish it. It might take a little bit to upload. What do we have? Still 24 minutes. Okay, fine. I'll just go a little bit around the space and show you again this teleport thing, and then I can teleport to this doggy place and walk around and how does it look. Generally, I would say you can, it's a little bit of a, as you see, it's a little bit of a like a fidgeting around with all this when you start to import models and check, okay, how much this model is heavy, how much can I reduce it till it still looks decent. It's a lot of playing around, uploading, trying it out, see if a Spoke complains and it's telling you, hey, look, the textures are gigantic. But generally, between like reducing the geometry and reducing the size of the textures and saving them and pack them into the Blender, usually you can upload quite a lot of stuff and make a nice environment, or make different places that people can teleport to. And of course, the option is always the same. If you are at a certain point in which your scene is too heavy, but still you want people to travel and to have like to have another space and another space, remember you can link different hubs. There was in a workshop of some months ago, I had some students that did an escape game. So you would enter this place and you would be in the first zone in which you had to somehow solve some riddles to discover where the link to the next place is. So the link was kind of hidden inside something and they were giving some suggestions. And then you would travel somehow to the next level, and the next level was it's a new hub. It's a different hub. And then in the next level, you had other things to do and things to answer, and they were also performing in the hub. So this is also something that it's very nice to do. Like, if you know you have kind of an evening or a precise time frame where people are coming to your virtual space, you can be part of the place. You know, you can make a certain kind of avatar, or you can have your webcam streamed and talk through the webcam and interact with the people and read something live. Or there were some students that had that did that audio connection that I showed you yesterday. And so they were doing some live music. It was 2 students, they were doing some live music, streaming it through the hubs. So you would hear the music through their avatar. Did I save it before? Yes, okay. They were streaming music through the avatar, and they were also, of course, running around the space super fast. So they were in the lobby, so in the place where people would arrive in the first point, and they would then have access to all the projects. And they were just going around the lobby, running super fast, flying super fast up and down, playing this like super noisy electronic music. And so you would hear like spatially, it was very nice spatially, because you could really hear like they were coming from your back and just passing by your ear and just flying somewhere else. And you really have a nice representation of how nice like space and sound behave together. So how you can hear things coming from different places. So I do recommend use the whole audio spatialization advantage, and you really use it in your projects, because it's very nice to hear. I'm a little bit biased because I'm a musician, so I have a soft spot for music and sound. But it's very immersive if you can use it well. So I'm in the space now. I can walk around. I can stand in front of my moving alien. This was a object we downloaded and had animation. I can go up my stairs. I can look at my beautiful desk, which is a little bit small. We could make it a little bit big. I have the feeling I really have to look down. Okay, so this is why it's important to try your hubs a lot. And oh, look at this. I can go somewhere. Go to. So I go to proof, and I get teletransported to my doggy place. And there's a doggy. It's sleeping. Don't worry. The dog is sleeping. Of course, if you teleport somebody to a place that then they can't escape, like they can't walk away from, it's good if you give them another link, if you place another link, so that they can teletransport back. Otherwise, people get stuck there, which is something that you might want, but just keep it in mind, especially when we talk about power, and you can stack people in places if you want, like this. Okay, what do we have? 20 minutes. I will just go through a little thing about the avatars. But I know actually I need that to be in hubs for that. You can customize your avatar. You can't oblige people to wear your avatar. This is always something that they choose entering the scene. But what you can do is that, you see, now I spawn in another point because I have 2 spawn points. So this is what I was talking about before. If you make a lot of spawn points that you can distribute people around randomly and make them start in different position in the space. So when they spawn, and if you really want them to use a certain avatar, you can hope that if you put an avatar in front of where they spawn, hopefully they will click on the avatar. You can also, write a lot of stuff like click on this, you wear this, whatever. You can kind of push them to wear an avatar. how do you do that avatar thingy? So when you are in Hubs, you go to the magic wand, you go for avatars. This this is an avatar I made. It was like a stupid experiment. This is actually, I recognized after this was the thing that I was wearing the whole time. But basically, yeah, you can take your avatar and it will throw it in the space, and you see it looks like a flat thingy, but you can place it in front of wherever the people are going to spawn. And then hopefully they will click on it, and then they will use that avatar. Remember, because this is something that you can't put in Spoke, you have to be in Hubs as a user to put it in. Remember that when you want this to stay in the space, and you do want this to stay in the space, you have to press space and pin it so that it doesn't disappear when you go away from the space. So this is one way to kind of push people to wear a certain avatar. So if I click that, then I wear this. Okay, I mean, I was wearing it before, so it doesn't make sense. But trust me, my avatar will change and I will have this. This avatar thingy was just a very simple experiment I just did with avatar creation. So avatar creation can be something very complicated, and because you can really do like a whole 3D model that responds to talking, that has animation inside, that turns when you turn, that reacts. You can do super convoluted things, and I'm not sure you want to do that. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, Pebbles was asking if we can kind of organize protests in Hub, and yes, you can modify your avatar and also the environment, or also have inside your hub, you can have objects that kind of connect with the whole protest thingy, and signs. The easier thing when you want to personalize an avatar, the super easy thing is just to change the texture. So it won't be like an extra 3-dimensional object, even though that's also kind of easy to do. Let me show you set name and avatar. Was it here? When you go to browse avatar, you can newest my avatar, create avatar, of course. So you have different models of avatar here. And it is like, the female and the male, very generalizing, and then the whatever. You can use those as a base. The easiest thing is to just upload a different texture. So if you go here in base map, I can upload another image, and I don't know. Let's say if I want like a very minimal avatar, and I will just do, I hope you see my screen still. I will just do an image. Sorry, I use Affinity Photo. It's like Photoshop, but cheaper. And okay, let's say I just do an image. I make a new file, whatever, 1024, past, good. Now it's everything white. Of course, I can do it all transparent. So I just select everything. I don't even have a level. Let me add a level. Come on. Come on. Okay. Maybe delete, because this should be empty. Yeah. I'll just make a little dot, black dot. Yes. Thank you. Or more dots. And I'm still not sure if this is really alpha, if this is really transparent, but I think so. So you make a very minimal image, you export it. Of course, you have to export it as a PNG, otherwise you don't have the alpha. PNG. Okay, I actually never exported an alpha image with Affinity Photo, so I'm not sure if this is working, but let's try. My text tour. Go to the folder and export it here. Then I go back to Firefox and I upload. Where's my folder? Desktop, Hyper Island, and my texture. Let's see. No, it wasn't. Okay. I'm sure you are much better than me to make a real PNG with alpha, but whatever. Then you save it. Okay, of course, if you make it alpha, then it gets transparent. This is the example here, the thing that I was wearing. It's just a transparent background with a lot of lines. And basically, that's like the easiest way to somehow personalize your avatar. You can work with alpha and make it, very minimal, make it totally transparent so that you are super invisible, make like a dot so that it's very minimal. If you want to even make add 3D stuff, I suggest you to check. Let me give you a link. I'm not sure if you want to do that. It might be kind of overcomplicated, but I just put it there if somebody really wants to. Hubs and voila. So I'm sending you a link from the people that program, like the developers of Hubs. I'll put it in the chat. This is a tutorial. It's like 1 hour. It's very long because they're really explaining everything, okay? But basically, if you want to add like a little element to your avatar, it's much easier than what they are explaining. Because basically you download their avatar. They have somewhere, they say it in the video, it should be in GitHub Hubs model. I'm not sure if I get something. Mozilla. Okay, there should be somewhere like the original, like the avatar. The ones that I showed you before when you had the very squarey one, the male and the female one. So you can download that and basically just add a sign. So you just download also like a 3D model of a sign and add it to the avatar, export it in Blender in the same way we exported the models before, and then upload it in here. When you want to create avatar, then you can upload a custom GLB. GLB would be a 3D model, okay? So basically you can download this from their GitHub for free. They say where you can find it in that video, or if you search a little bit, probably you get it. So you download this, you can import it into Blender. You just add your little 3D model of whatever, the sign, for example, the protest sign, put it near, and you just export it. Don't have to do anything more complicated. The things that I explained you before, how to shrink models, it's much more complicated than what would be just add a little thing to this pre-done 3D model thing. And then you add it by uploading it here as a custom GLB, and then you have it. So basically, sorry, just a moment. Yeah. Basically, this was all that I wanted to say, and I will stop sharing my screen. I know I kind of bombarded you with a lot of different things, and I also showed you a lot of things that could go wrong, especially when you download and try to modify 3D models, but this is all realistic things that might happen in real life. So I'm sorry if it was a bit long, but it's also good that you see all the wrong things that can happen. And again, if you have some difficulties with certain 3D models and you don't want to spend time fix them, yeah, whatever, just pick up another one. There are plenty. So if something doesn't work, just pick up another one. And yeah, yes, this lecture was recorded, so you can slowly go through everything that I said very quickly or very confusingly. And that's it. Do you have any desire or question for now, or any idea that might be usable for you?
Yeah, I have a question. I wasn't here yesterday. I only saw like the first half an hour, so maybe you have already said it, but I wonder if it's possible to use SVG files and JSON animations made from vector files in the space.
Okay. I think you might need to export them as video. That's the easier thing, or as GIF.
Okay.
Yeah, because I actually, no, to be sincere, I did not try. I'm not so used to do SVG, like animations with vectors and stuff, so I did not try. But I could imagine that if you try to, the easier thing, just take your file from your desktop and drag it into Spoke and see if it goes up, and if it goes up, how it looks. Otherwise, you might just have to make either a GIF or GIF or a video.
Yeah. I just imagine it could be good to use the animated SVG files because of the size of the file, because it's super small. So and the GIF is very could be really big. So it would be cool to try. I haven't downloaded any software yet because I missed out on yesterday, but I will definitely try. I think it's super cool.
I'm just Googling it because it's actually a very interesting thing. Because you're right, you could do images, but I don't see much. But yeah, you could check like SVG files, Spoke, Mozilla. There is something, but I think the easiest thing is just drag and drop and try if it works.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Cool.
You could even try with the link, maybe, like to link to like a web page where you have like that kind of content.
True. Yes. Because it's something that I said yesterday. You can either upload the stuff from your computer, or if you actually have a URL or where an image is or a video is. Again, the video doesn't really work most of the times, but you can try. If you have really the URL, you can just try to paste the URL into Spoke, and then maybe something comes up. If you see that something doesn't work, you can always take a link element from the assets, from the elements on the bottom, drag it there, and then in the properties, put your URL of your image. But yeah, still, let's try. Yeah.
I have a quick question. Now that we're talking about size of things, like if I import like a picture, let's say like a small picture, like as a tile, and then I use it as a tile and I multiply, does that count as one like asset, or like is it a smart strategy like you do sometimes in games? You tile things or you use
this is actually a question that I'm not sure about, because what they say in Mozilla Hubs is that they say that if the program sees that one texture is used many times, it will not kind of duplicate it. But I think it doesn't work for when you have images or videos. It works when we are talking about 3D files. So I'm sure it would work if you upload a 3D file, which is like a square with an image on it. And then it will understand, it's a texture. I don't need to use it 1,000 times. But if you upload it as an image, I think it kind of works in another way. And it might be dangerous. But again, if you want to tile something, again, you can do it before in in Photoshop. But then you have a big image. This is why you asked me this question.
Yeah, I was just thinking to make like things lighter, but we can experiment it eventually with that. As you say, it's like try it out.
Also, usually, if you have one image which is big and it's like it might be okay. I think it might be that when you duplicate it, it's heavy, but doesn't matter. Like you, Spoke will tell it to you when you publish it, and then you say, okay, it's not doing what I thought it would do.
Right.
And then the hardcore thing will be not the hardcore, but something that if you're not in 3D, maybe it's a little bit meh. You can actually do a 3D square in Blender and just put your texture on it. Like it might be like a tutorial of 2 minutes, but that for sure is it. For what I know, it's the safest and more like if that works, it works. Yeah.
Right. So you create a 3D object with a texture, and then you use it to
and
tile
you actually
or whatever.
Yeah, and you actually upload to Spoke. You upload the 3D object and not the link of an image. So you kind of do the work for Spoke. Okay.
Cool. Okay. Thanks.
Welcome.
And I would ask if any of you have, like, even if the idea is kind of baking in process, if you have any kind of like slightest possibility of using this and wonder how you can apply it to that, I actually highly recommend that you share with Stefano or all of us your kind of ideas, so that maybe like Stefano can kind of share how you can apply it and use certain tools. And because in the next review sessions, which comes next week, the creative reviews, we will actually kind of discuss how you would like to translate all your narratives onto an experiential space. So whether is it in Hubs or not, like I think it'll be good to think about how you intend to create this kind of like immersive storytelling. And if you have even the slightest idea, I suggest that you can just share with Stefano, this is our team's idea. How do you think that we could actually apply in Hubs, for example? Like I just asked a question on online protests. Is it possible? And he said, yes, and you could do like this. So I think you can feel free to actually share your idea, even if it's not definite yet. Anyone would like to share?
Yeah, I can share. We talked with you yesterday about like how we should do this, and we had in mind to do a film first, but now we are like considering changing the whole thing to make a space instead. And our current idea is to make kind of a room that goes around. So it's like you start in one room, and the narrative is that femininity is constructed from the society, and you start in like a very constructed room, and then you go into different rooms to describe femininity as not something constructed, and you can it's kind of a bad spiral. So yeah, that's our thought. But I think it really helped to see like how you can make your room within a 3D object. And yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but it seemed possible when you talked today, so I hope it will be.
No, of course it is. I would like, dependently from how you want to generally the space to look like, because you could do like very, like if each single room needs to have a lot inside, like of images or text, or maybe you have a narrating voice, or maybe you even have a video running, and maybe architectural element to make it feel as a room, if you want to make it feel as a room, then I would maybe suggest to start with one, see how heavy it is, and maybe have not one hub with a lot of rooms, but connect different hubs. So you have a room, and in this room there is a link to the next, and then there is a link to the next, and then there is a link to the next, so that you can split the heaviness of stuff if you want to have a lot of stuff. If you want to be if you want to be a little bit more minimal and you don't need a lot of stuff, but you want to maybe more concentrate on the past, whatever. Let's say if technically you don't have much stuff in the single room, you can also keep everything in one hub. You don't even need to make people like walk. It could be like a 3-dimensional flying thing when you have like clutters of objects that kind of are their own space, and then maybe whatever, you have some PNG with some lines that are very big and connect and kind of make a path through this clutter of objects. So it could be kind of a 3-dimensional flying thing, and you just suggest people where to go from step to step, but it's very free to navigate. Yeah, I don't know, things like this. But yes, it's for sure it's doable.
Thank you. That's really nice tips. Thank you.
Welcome.
I mentioned Stefano can be here for 5-10 more minutes for anyone who would like to share. If not, Petro, are you still here?
Hi, am I the only one in the room? No.
No, you're not.
Oh, okay.
No, but
I'm sorry because I got like to screen. We had another meeting at the same time, so I tried to like, you know, I'm not used to this, like agency mode with like a million windows. Yeah, Pebbles, did you have a question?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of just curious with like your idea, like because you wanted to duplicate a lot of image and all that. So maybe I was wondering, but then you have another meeting as of now, right?
No, now it's finished. They went to lunch. Thanks God. Thank God. Yeah, no, I mean, I was just asking because our idea is somehow to create a world where you can experience empathy. So we are building up on how to like, you know, really like be in somebody else's position or like switch roles and try to feel like somebody else's feel and maybe switch to them and then feel like, oh, wow, I thought it was blue, but his is yellow. And I like, that's why somehow it doesn't become green in a way. So we are elaborating on that. But yesterday, me and Berg, which is my group, we were trying just to play around in a room, like building up stuff and, you know, entering, talking to each other. And actually, some characters are amazing. They even have lip recognition. So when you talk, you know, and actually, and then before if you share your screen, you can even connect to Zoom. And we were watching the Zoom lecture in the beginning together, and then it creates kind of a cool feeling because you see the panda there and you know it's your friend and you are looking at it together. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah. No, it's actually yeah, that is something that maybe I didn't really show that much, because I showed a lot how to build stuff, but we didn't have much fun using the stuff like together, beside the first very chaotic moment where we were all in this small room and everybody was building stuff and everybody was super and the frame really was going super slow. Beside that, we didn't really have like, okay, you know, you can hear, like Mozilla Hubs, especially because of the lockdown, has been like really, it has exploded. And people start to have like school lectures in it or symposiums, and like people show and talk and meetings of every kind. So it is actually used a lot for social meetings. Even though, of course, you always have, as somebody said, like there's a little bit of a very simple, happy, childish aesthetic, because, you know, that's the default thing that also whatever Facebook VR chat has and other environments might have. Still, the fact that, you know, as you said, the avatars reacts with the mouth and the little eyes are like moving sometimes because you can give animation to your avatar, and the fact that you hear the voice of people coming from like left, right, is who's talking, it makes everything much more weirdly physical. Let's say I found it somehow better than than zooming. Like I had a lot of fun with some friends in Mozilla Hubs. Instead of like zooming and drinking together, we were drinking together, but instead of Zoom, we were on Mozilla.
Right.
And also because of course you can always show your webcam if you want, or show your screen. And also all these possibilities that come from them, from like screen sharing, making VJing, DJing, or also like really playing in a performative way with the camera sharing or the windows sharing. Like you could have Resolume with some live camera and whatever, go through a room, or have like more theatrically live done stuff that is displayed in a virtual space. So all these things that's a lot of possibilities. Yeah.
Right, and it kind of gives you that magical, I mean, it's a fiction, but that gives you that magical link between like an object and something happens that is a physical object. Even if you're in there, I mean, somebody puts there a radio and he was putting on some music. I mean, you can put it on Zoom as well, but you see him there, like, you know, going to the radio and putting on the music. I mean, or like, you know, you see his avatar, you're looking at the same thing. And somehow you merge with your avatar, and it kind of creates like a sense of belonging in the space. I mean, it was kind of really nice. I felt different.
Yeah.
So
it has also, like, also for me, like I generally I am super interested about like interfaces, and I'll do a lot of, maybe you were there yesterday, you saw a lot of interactive works, and the thing with computers is that like spatially we are human beings, and we evolved in a three-dimensional world. So even though like the screen is a super cool thing and internet is a super cool thing, see, it's a flat interface, and our brain is not very empathizing, or is not very good in memorizing where things are, especially if you have a clutter of things, because usually in a physical space you have a book, you throw it there, and you know it's there, like it's there, or somebody's talking and it's there, or you left something somewhere and it's there. And when you have a three-dimensional memorization of a space, you connect with it in a different way, instead of having a very abstract, ever-changing flat screen. So how, you know, objects, okay, you can have
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, like whatever, bookmarked links, but you will not have, your memory relates in a different way to it, because it's not in a 3D space in your brain. And so somehow, even if Mozilla, it's a virtual thing, it's very new, it's very simple, somehow the fact that things are distributed in a space and you can relate to them in a three-dimensional ways, as you said, makes it somehow more relatable. I don't know.
Yeah. And actually, I wanted to ask you, when it comes to like the interactions, like, you know, we're going to be in a museum, you know, like basing on the experience, you had a lot of experience or a lot of spaces. So like, you know, you can, what are the actions that are interesting to make when it comes to like relating with other people there? Like, okay, you can walk around, you can talk. Then we said, okay, if you write on the wall, it gets, maybe if it's not like very manageable, if it's not very regulated, it can get like messy. But beside that, can you think about any like interesting interaction that it would be possible, or maybe out of some projects? Oh yeah, that was cool in that project, that you could do that with other people.
That's a good question. Like, how do you create interactivity within a virtual space?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you can, I mean, basically by one thing that it's a little bit difficult to do, you have to train a bit, is like move, scale, and resize objects. So if you are like, you know, there are people coming, and I think you can, if you deny the permission to the audience to move stuff, you are the only one that can do that, I think. And like you can have like a gigantic black image that can be something that obscures the vision to something else. And maybe something happens at a certain point, and at a certain point you delete this, or you move it around, and it's basically a wall that moves in another environment that opens. Or things like this. It's very limited, so you really have to play with the limits of, okay, you have to build something and move it with the mouse. But still you can do certain things. You can also, you can have, I don't remember now the command, but I guess it's easy to Google. You can grow your avatar. So,
oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay,
so for
cool.
example, you can, if you make an avatar, which is, again, if you spend a little bit of time, but again, your avatar can be a flat square, you know?
Yeah.
So you can be the wall that makes, you know, space to people, or that traps people in the place, you know, because you can be very
nice.
big and very flat. So, you know, it's always kind of playing with the limits, but you can do certain funny things, yeah. Besides, of course, just being somebody that people interact to and just talk with them, or being in a character, like actor wise.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And a question for them, actually, like because a lot of visitors will come in and out to their exhibits, you know, the online exhibits in the museum. So how do you think they can best kind of capture the data of the visitors? You know, because I think it's also good for you guys to know whom has entered and viewed your installation, because I think this is a way of, you know, gaining insights of whom are watching. You know, like if we invite like industry people who come, your friends and family, and maybe is there something that you can invite them to leave behind? You know, if you have a wall that you create, you know, like let's say it's an online petition wall, you know, that, or people can leave a mark and write a note, you know, to congratulate or respond or comment to the idea that maybe you ask a question, what does power in femininity mean for you? You know, so that they can leave behind some kind of feedback as well. So I think it's also good to invite your audience to respond and to your work, whatever cause that you're trying to create.
One relatively easy thing that you can ask people to do is, I'm just waiting for my hubs to load, but basically if you write in the chat and then you press nearby the chat, there should be also this little magic wand on the bottom. If you write something there and then you press the magic wand, then it will generate a little kind of a bubble. It's a black bubble with the text that you wrote in the chat. And why is this not loading? I wanted to show it, but and then you can whatever, either ask to leave some comments or whatever, leave the emails. I don't know, you don't even know how these people are called, so maybe you want to have their name and know their contacts. But if you want them to like write a comment, it's also like a way to do it. I'm just sharing my screen again. I just want to show you very quickly how you do this. Desktop one, share. So you see my screen? Yeah. Okay. So on the back you have the chat stuff. So here you can chat and write stuff to everybody, of course. And oh, can I do it also like this? No, I'm not sure with that. Yeah. You see? Basically, you can write, and if you click on the magic wand here or also here, you click on it, and then it generates this kind of bubbly thing. And if you want to be sure that that you kind of collect them, you can maybe have somebody that moves them in a place. And remember again to press space and pin, so that they will stay in the place even when the person that created it leaves the space. Actually, for the user, I think the easiest thing that you could ask is just to ask them to write something in their chat, like I am writing. And then I'm not really sure, but what I saw now is that when you have something wrote in the chat and it appears in the chat up here, I don't know if I see it because I wrote it or if everybody has this option of the magic wand, but then maybe you could have somebody that click the magic wand and does the thing, so that you don't ask the people to do too much stuff. You just ask them, write something in the chat. And then you make the object and you pin it and you collect something. That could be something.
And then it's there forever.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah. I mean, Mozilla, as many times as you so spoke, and Mozilla is not the most stable thing. But it should be, yeah.
I think also for you guys, like you can also remember, like during the opening ceremony when this there's kind of live interaction of visitors coming. Also remember to take some screen recording, because this would be a good way to have it on your portfolio. Because to your question, the forever part. So like this people, when people are going in to enter and interact with your space, remember to kind of just have a kind of a screen recording. So next time you have a evidence of what happened during the project. So,
right.
And I think this way is very good for you to capture like this kind of messages, whatever that is, if it's a protest, so that people can actually have an opinion. Like designing empathy is this is a big part. Like in the end, your objective of your course, your chosen narrative, like why, like what am I supposed to feel, and how can I respond back to you? This is your invitation to your visitors.
Right.
And you both
yeah,
are
that's super cool. One other thing. Oh, sorry, Pebbles.
Sorry?
No, I was just saying one other thing that we did yesterday was like taking selfies, of ourselves. You can take a picture and then there is a countdown. You can, put yourself in front with your avatar, and then you're just like, oh, wow. And then you have a picture there of you. I mean, it's kind of silly because we were a fox and a panda, but,
Yeah.
That's fun.
No, that's exactly. That's also something that probably I didn't really underline much. All the things that you can do in Hubs. So because I explained a lot of Spoke, how to build a space, but all the options that you have in Hubs as a user, like taking pictures, writing these bubble things, bringing in objects and moving them. These are also actions and stuff that you can use in a creative way somehow. Yes, of course.
Any more questions before? But you can continue to write down these notes, or questions, because Stefano could be on board on some of our creative reviews, the feedback. So focus on how your intentions, and if you find that you're stuck with but how can I do this, then mark the questions and we can discuss further in the reviews. It's good.
Thanks.
You guys are here and pushing
Yeah,
it.
this is super exciting,
Yeah.
I think. Really.
We let you go and have some lunch now. Otherwise,
You guys can as well.
I mean, thank you. It would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you,
so
guys. It
much.
was a lot of fun.
Stefano, can you stay on for a while?
What? Sorry?
Just stay on. Just stay on.
Yes.
No more questions.
Grazie, ne?
No. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Ciao.
I will just switch the headphones because they are running out of battery.
Yeah.
So let me move.
I can kick.
Then I have to switch.
The microphone and
Yeah, I think nothing much. I just wanted to say.
voila. Wait. Why am I not hearing you? Select the speaker. Okay. Can you? Can we check if we can? No, I still don't hear you. Fuck.
You don't hear me.
Yes, I do. I do hear you now. Yes. Fine.
So thank you.
Welcome.
For then to have something to play around with. And actually, I didn't have anything much to say about this. I just wanted you to help me export the chat.
Ooh.
Yeah. I wrote some stuff there.
Does this work? I never did. Save chat. Okay.
That's all, and then you sent it to me. And I think it's only that when we organize the creative reviews, will you be up for sitting in when we have this with the students? I think there are 13 groups. Creative production. So I think I'm going to start scheduling next week or so. I'll let you
when? So next week, between 9 and 15.
kind of thing, like because there are many groups, so not, of course, you don't need to be with all. Just sometimes, like I have different guests for certain groups, and then maybe I will because we are going to get their first submission of like a draft idea on Monday. So I will find those people who might use Hubs to be in this creative review, so that you can share with them how to create those stuff, and or they have some kind of interactivity thing that they, even if they're not using Hubs, what's not.
Yeah, sure. Any tech thing that I can solve, I can. Yeah, sure. We can do it.
Awesome. Thank you. And then we'll organize another meeting. We'll talk to you about Nunk.
Yes.
Yeah. How busy are your schedule now?
That's like a very big mystery. No, I'm actually. It depends. I might be relatively busy or very free for nearly the whole month. It depends from Corona and festivals.
Right.
There is somebody that's still trying to make festival work, even if I don't know how they could, because all events are kind of prohibited. But let's see. I kind of have the feeling